Always an important position, especially at this time of year. Goaltending, we've got our keeper experts right now in Jamie McLennan and Marty Biron back with us as well. We're going to look at all three Canadian playoff teams as they get set to get started. And why don't we start with Calgary, because they've had that platoon system this season in David Rittich and Mike Smith. Are you confident or concerned with the Flames going into the playoffs?
I'm concerned because there was never any clear-cut guy for the Flames all season. Now, Mike Smith can steal you a game, but he may lose you a game at time, and in the playoffs, you can't have that happen. Now, David Rittich may be a little bit more consistent in that, but he doesn't have the playoff experience. So I'm concerned because they have such a good team, Jamie, but their goalies could definitely be their one Achilles heel in the playoffs.
Marty, I'm confident because there's a reason why the Calgary Flames were so good this season, and it was because they had that platoon system. And for me, it comes back to Billy Peters and how he manages both goaltenders, because I don't want to see what happened in Dallas a couple years ago where Lindy Ruff just went from one goaltender to another. That is disruptive for a team. So he has to read who is going. And if, for example, if Mike Smith starts game one and he has his game, but he ends up losing, you don't go right to the other guy. You have to have a feel for the team and for the goaltender. And it's the same scenario. If Johnny Gaudreau has an off night, you don't sit him. So you have to feel if the goaltender is going, and if he's not going, you can go to the other guy. He managed it all season long. He's going to have to do it in the playoffs.
Okay, not a platoon system in Winnipeg, although they do have Laurent Brossoit available, but it is Connor Hellebuyck, I mean, to take them as far as they can go. And Hellebuyck was better last year than this year, statistically anyway. Confident or concerned? I'm
confident because I look at his March and I thought it was fine. He just wasn't getting the goal support. And let's not forget, Morrissey and Byfuglien were injured. Now Byfuglien's come back. We're not sure on Morrissey. But I look at his structural game, and it did not change whatsoever. I think last year he had an amazing season where it hit the post and stayed out. It trickled between the legs and stayed out. This year, it may hit the post and go in. But from a structural standpoint, he hasn't changed. So I'm still confident in Connor Hellebuyck's game.
I'll be confident as well because in the playoffs, you usually raise your level of intensity and your energy. For me, Connor Hellebuyck has the structure, as you pointed out, but too many times he relied on that structure this year where he wasn't really pushing himself to the extreme that he needed to make a save. Like he thought his body was there, his structure was there, but sometimes you have to reach a little bit more. You have to be acrobatic in that. So I would hope that that level of intensity and energy will raise in the playoffs, and then I'd be very confident in Connor Hellebuyck.
And if there was one of these three teams completely dependent on one goaltender, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs and Frederik Andersen. Confident or concerned?
I'm going to be confident because early in the season, Freddie Andersen was the MVP for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He played out of his mind, made some unbelievable saves, and now you gear down towards the playoffs, and defensively, I think the Leafs are tightening it up, and it will help Freddie Andersen because you're playing the Boston Bruins. You can pre-scout the Bruins. You can really understand what you need to do to defend better against Boston. So I think it's going to help Freddie Andersen. So I'm really confident in what he can do.
I'm concerned, but I'm actually climbing off of what the point you made is. You make a great point saying they've got to tighten up. But that concerns me because I'm not convinced that the Toronto Maple Leafs can tighten up just overnight. You can't flick a switch. All season long, they've relied on their goaltender way too much, and it's worn him down. When he was average or below average, what happened? They gave up a ton of goals. I'm 100% confident in Frederik Andersen. I'm not confident in the group in front of him tightening up against a very tough Boston Bruin team.
And you talk about this season, even going back a year ago against the Bruins, they don't get to Game 7 without him and the way he played in 5 and 6. And sure, he had a bad third period at the worst time in Game 7, but be interesting to see which Freddie Andersen they get for that series as they try to beat the Bruins this time around. Our goaltenders, Jamie McLennan, Marty Biron. Thanks, guys.